Good morning. It's John Gilkison, Aero Stealth here, and it is Thursday, October 12th, 2023, and wanted to get with you this morning because I wrote a couple blogs this week, and it's just one of those things when you got something topical on your mind, the best thing to do is just knock these blogs out. Because if you wait 2 or 3 days, you just might move on to something else you think's more important. So anyway, before I get started though, I want to show you my new decal for the car. And it says rolling coal, and this is option B, rolling clean coal. And this is just an homage to the people who will tell you that your car is a coal-powered car. And of course, as you probably know, there's diesel truck drivers who modify their controls on their diesel engines to make them shoot out black sooty smoke. And one of their favorite very growing up activities is to pass EVs and Priuses and stuff and then turn it on so they'll roll a bunch of black smoke onto the vehicle as they pass them. And so since I have a coal powered car, I figure anytime I'm driving I'm actually rolling coal. This is a joke, of course, and I thought about it a little bit more, because as a rationalization for still burning coal to produce electric power, they want to say there's something called clean coal. There is no such thing as clean coal in reality, and so let's change it to rolling clean coal. So that's a double entendre, I guess. Anyway, moving on here. I'm probably going to put the rolling clean coal sticker on the passenger side little triangular window on my Chevrolet Bolt. Replace the one that says free oil changes for life. The first blog I wrote was if EVs sucked as much as gas cars. And one of the things I've been trying to do over the years is to invert some of the logic I hear. And in this case, people will always want to say, well, I really don't want to get into buying or driving an EV because they don't have enough range or whatever. They'll pick things that are, yes, they are things that need improving in EVs, and for example, range. And but I always like to try to turn the logic on its head, because people look at the world through what I call a fossil fuel lens. That's all they know. We've been driving gas-powered cars for over 100 years now, and EVs are new to most people. Most people haven't experienced them yet, even, and so that's the lens that they look at the world through. There's a gas station on every corner. It's really convenient. It takes 5 minutes to go charge up your gas car by just popping into a gas station. And this whole idea of having to charge a car and it takes too long. Well, it only takes overnight. In other words, you plug your car in the garage and then you walk away, go in the house. It takes less time to actually charge your car than it does to gas it. And not only that, you don't have to go anywhere. You do it in the garage. So anyway, here's my thought experiment. Is what if, instead of getting 120, 130 miles per gallon, my Chevrolet Bolt only really got 30 miles per gallon equivalent. Well, what would that look like? In other words, if my electric vehicle sucked as much as a gas car, and only got 32 miles per gallon, how long would it take to charge? How big a battery would I have to have? And in the case of my Chevrolet Bolt, I worked it out to, I gave it 256 miles of range, which is close enough. And it would require a 270 kilowatt hour battery pack. Now, obviously, that's over 4 times as large as a battery pack that's in my car, so that's a non-starter due to mass. However, let's hypothetically imagine that this battery, 270 kilowatt hour battery pack, was as light as a 60 kilowatt hour battery pack is today. In that case, we could do it technically, but still there's other reasons we really wouldn't want to do it. And that's the equivalent of 8 gallons of gasoline I'd need. And including charging losses, it would require a total of 300 kilowatt hours to bring that battery from 0 to 100%. However, we normally don't charge that way. We only charge 80%, maybe from 20 or 30%. So I figured using 70% of the pack would take need 190 kilowatt hours into the battery, with charging losses 210 kilowatt hours to charge it, and it would cost $25.20 per charge. And so that part's doable. However, I'm charging on an off-peak rate for 8 hours a night, which gives me that low price. So, and at 32 amps, at 7.2 kilowatts per hour, it would take over 29 hours to charge, which works out to 3.6 days. Now, I charge my car about every 3 days. So, that's kind of a non-starter. But charging off-peak would reduce the cost to $9.87 per charge cycle, which is half to half. So we'd need to up the amperage. Had a 50 amp circuit, we could charge at 9.6 kilowatts, which would be 21.9 hours or 2.7 days. So that would allow me to fully charge the car and drive it for 3 days, and then start charging it again. And technically what you'd have to do, since you'd just never stop charging, every night you'd just plug it in for 8 hours. That's the way it would work, because you'd be driving it normally. So that's not good. So this electric car with only 32 miles per gallon would suck. Now obviously you could even go to higher, like 80 amps or even 100 amps, and speed all that up. But that's a costly affair also to install such a circuit. But the DC fast charging on the highway would really throw a monkey wrench in your works. First place, you charge it up to 100%. The most you could do is about 350 miles in a day, and that's reasonable. However, when you reach your first charge point after a couple hundred miles, you have to charge it up. It would take 5 hours to charge the car at DC fast charging rates. That would cost you $77, I think. I have $87 here. So you'd have to DC fast charge overnight while you were at your motel also. And needless to say, it would cost more than gasoline. Especially on the road, it would just be horrendous. But even at home, it would still cost you more to charge your car than it would be to gas a car at 32 miles per gallon. So, um, anyway, that was that blog. Trying to get people to look at the world through a different filter. My second blog is our fossil fuel addiction. And what I have here is just memories of, I was born in 1950, and when I was young, almost all adults smoked cigarettes. And drinking was fairly common too. The fact is, drinking and driving was kind of winked at. Every time a cop pulled you over, they didn't always charge you or test you or anything else. Back then, they would they might know you were a little tipsy, but just tell you to take it easy and go home or something. I had that happen to me. But then things begin to change. One of the first things that happened with cigarettes, and I'll stick to cigarettes here, was they started putting warning labels on cigarette packs. And everybody back then just kind of laughed at it. Oh, that's silly. But then also they cut off advertising. You could no longer advertise cigarettes on TV. And so, and then after that, the taxes on cigarettes begin to increase. I can remember when I was young putting 35 cents in a machine to get a pack of cigarettes. Now, a good brand of cigarettes like Marlboro, a well-known brand, it's over $7 a pack. And yet there's still a few people out there that you see that smoke. And they pay $7 a pack or $5 for an off-brand to smoke. And generally the people that I see doing this are the people that can least afford it. They're usually driving a junk car or no car. And I guess it's the one thing they got, one pleasure in life left, huh? So, one of the first things you'll notice about addictions is they're attended with rationalizations. You're always rationalizing why your behavior, why you're doing something, why you don't want to quit. And it is difficult to quit, obviously, but the same thing's true with alcohol, of course. But the major point I was trying to make in my blog was it took over 50 years to go from where almost everybody smoked, you could smoke anywhere, to a society where almost no one smokes. You can't really smoke in buildings anymore, or most places. And cigarettes are really expensive. And you're still free to do it, but we've completely changed the ambient conditions of smoking cigarettes, but it took 50 years. Well, we are addicted to fossil fuels. You'll run into people, and I have, that, get rid of that piece of paper. You'll talk to them, and they think climate change is real and all this, but oh no, I can't get an electric car. I don't want to be inconvenienced. When I travel, I don't want to have to stop and charge for, I just want to be able to just drive, not have to plan, see a gas station, just pop in, fuel up and go. And that's their rationalization for something that they only travel maybe once or twice a year, and they don't base any of these decisions on experience or anything. They're just rationalizing away. And so they will come around. They're not EV haters, but they're rationalizing their addiction. Now, if you talk to someone who says, yes, I want to get an electric car, but right now I'm not in a financial position to do it, they're not rationalizing it away. This is probably a fact. So you can kind of tell. So I think we need the same thing on fossil fuels. We need to start having warning labels on all fossil fuels. And I'm talking about gasoline, diesel, propane, natural gas. They need to come with warning labels. And then we need to start incrementally raising the price of fossil fuels. And by that I mean 5 to 7% a year. So that what we are after is to get the price to double maybe in about 10 years. This gives people time to make a shift away from it. And concurrently, we need to incentivize electric vehicles even more. Electric utilities around the country, and some of them are friendly towards them, some of them are hostile, but we need to incentivize charging infrastructure. The price of electricity needs to be kept low for charging electric vehicles. And I think DC fast charging is too expensive, to be honest with you. It wasn't too bad, but now it's jumped from like about 10 cents a kilowatt hour to charge. And fortunately, you don't have to travel that often. Another thing that happens is there's not enough convenience charging, or what you call, like when you get to a motel, there should be charging there. And it only needs to be level 2, but you should be able to charge your vehicle overnight. And that's not readily available. And if we had that at almost every motel, you would be able to eliminate one DC fast charging stop per day. This would speed up travel. It would also eliminate the need for maybe 10-20% of the DC fast chargers out there, or make the DC fast chargers we have go 10 or 20% further. So it would also reduce the cost of travel, because this charging at a motel would be free or a much lower rate because it's only level 2. So that's what I got for you. We are addicted to fossil fuels, and we don't have 50 years to change everything around. But that's the situation you're in. You're fighting an addiction. So just swapping over from, fossil fuels to electricity for cooking, heating water, drying your clothes, all the things that we do with fossil fuels, it's going to take time. And also there's a mindset against it. And also there's barriers like the expense. Like I want to install a new water heater that's a heat pump water heater. And it's going to cost me over $1,200 for this water heater. Now there are rebates and stuff like that, but on your taxes, unfortunately that delays you getting your money back, and you have to pay up front. So if you're resource limited on money, this is a barrier. And just recently, for example, they expanded the federal tax credit for cars to be rebate at the point of purchase. So not only do you not have to have a $7,500 tax liability to get the $7,500 now, when you go to buy a brand new car, you can sign over that rebate to the dealer, and they'll take that $7,500 price right off the car at the point of purchase. This is the way it needs to be. And I've been saying that for years. I don't understand why they favored the rich with these rebates. And this is going to help. But the same thing goes for a water heater, an electric stove, hybrid, clothes dryer. Any of these appliances, heat pumps, these rebates need to come off at the point of purchase. And your tax liability shouldn't matter. If we really want these rebates to function as they're intended, this is what we have to do. So I'm going to leave you go there. I think climate change is going forward here is going to begin to really devastate our society more and more. And we're not moving fast enough to wind and solar and electric drive and electrifying our ways of life. And we need to move faster. And so those are some of the keys. Number one, and realize it's an addiction. Treat it like one. Incentivize, getting rid of this addiction. and switching over to renewables and clean electricity and so forth. And so you all stay well out there, and if you got an electric car, by all means, go out and roll some clean coal. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.